Good morning again. This is Shannon Daly from the Community College Consortium for Open Educational Resources, and welcome to our webinar on finding and selecting high-quality open educational resources. And we're really thrilled to have such a wonderful turnout today, and I think you will find some very interesting information from our three presenters. We've got Kate Hess from Kirkwood Community College, who will be giving us the librarian point of view on OER, which is a very important role that is played in sharing open educational resources. And next we'll have Dr. Robin Donaldson, who is the director of the Open Access Tech Project, and she'll be talking about the Florida Distance Learning Consortium and all of their efforts around open education. And finally, we will have a very interesting presentation by David Harris, who is the editor-in-chief of Connections. He's also a leader of the OpenStax College project, which has 5 brand new open textbooks that he is going to talk about and are of a professional grade OER. So a very exciting new development in open ed that David will be sharing with us. All right. I think most of you have already gone ahead and introduced yourself in the chat window, and thank you for that. I appreciate hearing all the different places people are from. I thought what might be kind of fun, because since the Community College Consortium has joined the Open Courseware Consortium, we've become a global organization, and we now get participants from around the world. So if you know how to do this, you can click the wand that is in the middle of your screen. It's that set of 2 rows of tools that run down the middle of your screen. And you can pick up your wand, and you can use that to locate where you are on, yeah, thank you, Sarah. I see there's a bunch of people from the West Coast. Wonderful. We've got some people over on the East Coast. All right, excellent. And if you can't figure out how to use the wand, go right ahead. It looks like we have someone from Alaska. You can go ahead and put your information, yes, in the chat window. Thank you, Virginia, for doing that. One other thing I wanted to check in with you on, and I'm sorry this isn't hooked up to the poll at the moment, but if you wouldn't mind telling us how you heard about the webinar, it helps us to know what is the most effective way to market these free and open webinars. Our goal, of course, is to get as many faculty, staff, and administrators who are interested to attend these so that they can gather more information about the benefits of open education. All right, thank you. Okay, excellent. Well, looks like it was a pretty, email seems to be the biggest one. Okay, but looks like a fair amount of that worked. All right, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so the agenda is briefly, I'm going to give you a few updates, and then we're going to drive right into the presentations because I know that all 3 presenters have excellent information to share with you. So the Community College Consortium for Open Educational Resources, our mission is promoting the adoption of OER to enhance teaching and learning. And of course, we do that by supporting professional development for faculty to create and encourage the sharing, creation, and reuse of open materials. And our other goal is expanding access to education, which is, of course, a core principle of the community college mission. Just to let you know, a couple of upcoming events in the next few months. Kate Hess, who's our first presenter, will be attending the Association of Colleges and Research Library Conference in Iowa in May, and she'll be sharing some information with her colleagues there about the Community College Consortium. Also, there is an online teaching conference that will be in California mid-June, and we have quite a few members of our consortium who are presenting there. So if you're attending any of those, we'd love to see you. All right. At this time, I'm going to turn this over to Kate Hess, who is an academic librarian at Kirkwood Community College and has been working for several years with faculty and staff on how to find OER to use in their classrooms. Kate has also been an active member of our advisory board for the last couple of years as well, and we're very pleased to have her present this morning.
All right. Thanks, Una. My interest in OERs has definitely been an extension of my work as a librarian and fits really nicely with the librarian ethos that information should be freely available to those who seek it, and with my role of supporting faculty in their information needs for their students. I think you'll see this approach reflected in my presentation today. And as the title of the webinar states, finding those high-quality resources is, of course, our goal. Before we get into searching, just a reminder of what exactly we're talking about when we say open educational resources. The short version is these are resources that are free and open. Free to access online and free to print. And open because they are shared through licensing by the creators that grants some rights to users rather than reserving all rights as copyright does. So the little image there at the bottom, the C is for copyright, of course, the traditional copyright enjoyed by any author. The CC stands for Creative Commons licensing, which was created to allow authors to be specific about which of their copyrights they want to share with users. And of course, there are whole webinars, there are whole websites dedicated to just covering licensing. So I'm not going to get into it in any more detail today, but if you're not familiar with it, if you just go to the Creative Commons website, creativecommons.org, they do a great job of sort of explaining themselves. And the PD there, again, in the image.
But I like to be able to capture if a screen comes up.
I'll touch on some resources for finding public domain materials as well today. And I do have a handout that Una's going to share with you probably at the end of the presentation today that has links to all the different resources that I'm showing you today. So if you miss something, you'll still be able to get back there. So OER is open, free and open, but as far as format and intent, the format varies widely. It can include any of these things. Modules, lessons, courseware, textbooks, videos, images, just about anything can be an OER. But again, they share these characteristics of being free and open.
I wonder what it looks like.
And as I said, my approach to OERs is very much a librarian's approach. Of course, librarians aren't defined by our knowledge of Dewey Decimal or our ability to navigate a card catalog anymore, although I love this picture here. But we are experts in information organization, access, and evaluation. We librarians often talk about research in terms of information literacy, where you define your information need, you identify that information and locate where you can access it. You evaluate it for its usefulness and quality, and finally, use the information effectively and ethically. So when I consult with my faculty here at Kirkwood about locating OERs for use in their courses, I approach the process in the same way. I first ask my instructor, what exactly do you need? And actually, I'd like for all of you to maybe put in the chat window there, what's your information need related to OERs? Some of you said why you logged in today. Maybe you're not looking for OERs for yourself. Maybe you want to help faculty. Maybe you're writing your own text. But it is a good idea to think about what exactly your information need is or your students' needs as you begin searching for information, because there's just such a wide variety of information available that, focusing your search is really going to help you. Maybe you want to replace your current textbook with an open book to save your students money. Maybe you like the flexibility, the ability to update a text or just use the parts you want to. A lot of instructors I've talked to are actually sort of building their own collection of resources, putting it in a content management system and using that instead of a traditional textbook. It's a long ways beyond the course packs that I remember from my own days as a college student.
Blow it up.
So it looks like, yeah, there's a lot of variety here. Helping faculty, helping students, replacing all textbooks with OERs, find a textbook better suited for your course. All right, yeah, and please, keep throwing those ideas out there so we can look at them later. Well, I hope this presentation will, at the very least, give you a really good start to finding what you need today.
Okay.
So after defining your information need, we move on to identifying and locating your ideal resource or resources. This is where getting familiar with the many different collections and finding tools for open education resources is helpful, and where, of course, we will focus today. If you have looked around at some of the OER repositories, search engines, you know that there's an almost overwhelming number of places to search for resources. You may be familiar with some of those shown on the slide here. Because there are so many different sites providing different types of resources, I thought the most helpful thing today would be to first show you a couple of sites that serve as guides to the world of OERs, and then I'll go on to give you some sort of context for the different types of sites you might run into besides those. The first guide I want to recommend to you is actually the CCC OER website itself. Today's webinar is brought to you by CCC OER, so you may have looked at this already. What I want to point out to you specifically is the resources page. And, as I've looked around at a lot of different guides, this is the most comprehensive one that I've seen. I think everything that you'll see here today is on there, plus more, of course. The site does need to be updated a little bit. There are a few dead links on there, but that should be fixed soon. And you can see here that once you get to the resources page, they are broken down by the type of resource you want to find. So you have links specifically for textbooks. The repositories and blogs is going to be guides to finding just about anything. There's a specific link for books, and on there. The second guide, I don't have a slide for this. The second guide I want to recommend is Open Educational Resources Info Kit, and the link is on that handout that Una shared. It's hosted by a UK educational company called JISC, and I encourage you all to take a look at it. It's another just excellent guide to OERs. It gives you some background, define terms if you're not sure what someone's talking about. So those are two guides that I highly recommend. Let's see. Now to give you some context for where these links may be taking you when you're going from a guide. This next is a rundown of the basic OER sites you may run into. You have repositories, referatories, and search engines. So what do those mean? Repositories are the places that actually store OERs. These are primary storage locations for the actual content. To give you an analogy, in the world of traditional publishing, this is kind of like going directly to NewYorkTimes.com to search for New York Times articles rather than searching, say, a library database that lets you search, many different newspaper publications at the same time. So if you've used Merlot, Orange Grove, Connections, these are all examples of repositories. They're definitely searchable, but depending on the site, the search may be limited to just those items in the repository and not a comprehensive search of OERs. And as you know, as things evolve in OERs, there's a lot of overlap to these different types of sites, so they really don't fit into neat categories. But it is useful to kind of keep in mind that there is this distinction between a repository and referatory, which I'll be talking about next. And incidentally, or as you heard Una say, Orange Grove and Connections are two that you'll hear more about from our other two presenters. Two more examples of repositories you've probably heard of are Project Gutenberg and Google Books. Project Gutenberg provides online access to books in the public domain. And Google Books, you can limit your search to just those books that are available online at no cost. And most of those do end up being public domain books. So these aren't maybe what you think of when you think OERs, but they fulfill the criteria of being free and open. And I also will point out quickly that there are also many resources for discipline-specific OERs. So you might run across one just for health, one just for history, things like that. And a lot of times you find them in the guides. You might find them through a Google search. Might get referred there by a colleague. So in addition to repositories, there's a second type of site that's called a referatory. It's basically a site that doesn't house the content, but refers users to content that they have selected from multiple repositories, and usually provides some added benefits such as reviews or descriptions. So again, going back to my nytimes.com example, this would be like searching articles from many different newspapers at once, like you would through a library database. A great example of a referatory is College Open Textbooks. They provide links to many open textbooks and solicit reviews of those textbooks from instructors. OER Commons is another example. Because they are providing access to so many different types of resources from different repositories, they have a sophisticated search interface that allows users to define just what they're looking for. As you can see there, their search page gives you a lot of different options there. This is an example of what one of their records looks like. There's a description of the resource, there's licensing information, and then you'll see in the kind of lower right-hand corner there a link to where the content actually resides. So mostly in OER Commons, what you'll find is a record like this, but then it will link you to another website to actually get to the item. So we looked at repositories, referatories, and the third type of site is a search engine. Of course, we're familiar with search engines like Google, and a search engine, search engines are programs that index sources of content without housing the content themselves, or selecting content based on any kind of criteria or of quality. So again, Google is a good example of that. It's just a program that brings up websites but doesn't have any criteria other than the terms that you've put in. A search engine that I've found to be extremely valuable is hosted by Creative Commons. It searches several different websites and returns results based on your keyword, as well as how the content is licensed. I find it by far the easiest way to locate images that have been licensed for reuse. And you can see here it also searches for videos, for music. And again, you can select exactly how you want to use the information, whether it's going to be for commercial purposes and whether you want to modify it at all. So we've covered defining your information need and different ways you can identify and locate that information. So we move on to evaluation. What is the quality of these resources? This is one of those questions that is frequently asked when talking about OERs with anyone in higher education. There's definitely some skepticism, I think, that anything of high quality could be free. You'll find as you look at these resources that authors and creators are almost without exception instructors themselves who choose to share resources they've created with other instructors and, of course, with students. There definitely is a collaborative spirit to be found among educators, and I think that is what is at work here more than anything. There's also a lot of content that is supported by funds from, for example, government agencies, charitable organizations, colleges, and with the collaborative possibilities of Web 2.0 technologies, it's a natural fit. So where do you start with evaluating a resource? Many of the same criteria that you would use to evaluate a traditional resource would, of course, apply. As you've seen today, many sites that help you locate OERs incorporate peer evaluation of some kind. There are evaluation criteria outlined on the Open Educational Resources InfoKit website, too. Like many aspects of OERs, this is an emerging and evolving discussion. One of the interesting aspects of OERs is that the authors receive frequent feedback from the instructors that use them, and they can also be updated immediately to reflect any errors or new research or events that should be included. So the resources become these highly up-to-date, evolving, collaborative creations that speak directly to students instead of becoming out of date as soon as they are printed. So, you know, using these evaluation criteria and, you know, kind of following where OERs are going is just a great way to evaluate those resources. And on that note, I will hand things over to our next presenter who has a really great resource to show you.
All righty. Thank you very much, Kate. That was lots of great information in there for folks. Before we switch to Robin, I just wanted to mention if you are participating in another event in your office, could you please *6 your phone if you're on the phone, because we're picking up a little bit of background conversations. Or if you are listening on here just directly on your computer with your headset, just turn off your mic so that you can listen but we don't hear what's going on in the background. Thanks. And next we have Dr. Robin Donaldson. She's the director of the Open Access Textbook Project at the Florida Distance Learning Consortium. And Florida Distance Learning has been doing some amazing stuff, which she is going to fill us in on. And she's also been an advisory board member for a long time on the Community College Consortium. So we're very happy to have Robin.
Thank you, Una. Yes, and I also am the project manager for the Orange Grove, and that is how this all relates back together, the Open Access Textbook Project as well as the Orange Grove, which is Florida's digital repository for K through 20 or higher education. And each year the legislature evaluates what new projects they would like the Florida Distance Learning Consortium to take on. And this year what they've asked us to do is to work with our higher education institutions and to develop a document that would be more of a guideline that administrators and faculty and educators could use to evaluate and review open access textbooks. And this would be used in higher education. In addition, part of our role is to promote and provide our recommendation to our educators on the use of, the use of open textbooks and OERs, as well as where they can find them in addition to our repository. And just so you know, in the coming months, they have reorganized us, so we won't be called Distance Learning Consortium. We are being combined with the university library system, the college library system, and another organization called FACS, and we will become the Florida Virtual Campus. Also, as part of our OER initiative in the state, we've conducted, just recently they closed, we conducted 2 surveys. One was a faculty survey on OERs, open courseware, and open textbook usage. And then we conducted a student survey on their use of print, rented text, and digital text, as well as open textbooks. Both those reports should be coming out next month. And we had 22,000 responses from our colleges and universities, so we were very pleased with the high participation level. We were hoping to gauge our faculty familiarity with their open educational resources and courseware. So that'll be an interesting report to have out, and that will be on our open access textbook website as well as in the Orange Grove. You'll also be seeing in the coming months we're creating 2 videos, and the first one is licensing your OER work with using Creative Commons, and it goes into more detail on what the licenses are and how you might apply them to your work. And this is a video that's going to be a little bit longer in length and can be used for faculty training. And then the next one that we'd like to get out is going to be a Creative Commons Part 2, where part of the confusion with OER developers is if you take a couple of different resources that are licensed with Creative Commons and then you modify them and create your own content, how does that final new product have to be licensed with a Creative Commons license? And so we're coming up with some scenarios and videos, and then we'll have an interactive little quiz type piece that will go along with that. And these will be freely licensed, and they'll be in YouTube, so anyone can have access to these. And again, it's for faculty training. So, and just as an aside, we just had a symposium on digital and open textbooks and for creating your models and initiatives and policies for OERs and open textbooks and digital textbooks. And those videos, if you're interested in, are in our Orange Grove YouTube channel. Okay, so as you heard, Orange Grove is a repository, but to also use the same sort of terminology, we'll be talking about harvested resources, and that is where, I guess, we're both a repository and a repository in that we'll pull information in from other repositories, other websites, and you can search for those resources within our repository. The actual digital file is not located in our repository. You can click on the link and it'll take you to that resource. But in addition, we do have, it is a repository. That's its main function, so that educators can contribute resources of any type to share with other educators. Once we go in here, you'll see it's got a collection, many collections in it. The ones that are freely available are the Orange Grove collection, open textbook, harvested, and open courseware. Yes, non-Floridians can contribute to the Orange Grove. You can send those files to me, and I'll contribute it. There's a form I'll show you on the home page of the repository to send that information. What we are is we are licensed by Equella to have so many accounts for educators to use this integrated form for contributing resources. But we are very happy to take resources from anyone, and we'll add them for you. So thank you for that question. And right now we have over 69,000 resources that we've pulled in. And the last 6 months our focus has been on the STEM resources and general education. We've been asked to also start trying to find humanities and literature resources. So the next 6 months, that's pretty much what our focus is going to be on. So on that note, let me go ahead and take you to the repository. Let me hit cancel. Hang on one moment. See if I can get it up. There we go.
Robin, are you sharing your...
I did the application. Can you see it now?
Yes, it's coming in. Great. Looks perfect.
Okay, good deal. So the home page of the website, the link is florida.theorangegrove.org. And this is what we call the dashboard or the home page. So Florida, you would be coming in as a guest. Florida educators, you grab the browser window and grow it. Yes, you can on your desktop. You can do that yourself, and I can make mine a little bit larger too, Una.
Thanks, Robin.
There you go. Is that better?
Oh, it's fine. I just wanted to let people know that some of
sorry.
Yeah, I know. It looks great.
All right, good deal. Also, there are some little tutorials here, just PDF files on how to do some searching and sharing the resources. You can share these resources with anyone. Now, you'd asked about the contributing. One of the things is on the left-hand side, you'll see that we've got collections here, and I'll show you this real quick. Our Florida higher education institutions, all of them can have collections, and some of them have opted to do that. And these numbers that you'll see here, but it's important to note that some of the numbers here, they reflect how many resources you have the right to view, because some of the resources are for only the institution or to Florida, or some are to the general public. And for example, there's a couple of in here that I already know have a few hundred. One of them is over 1,000 resources, but they've opted to keep the number to the general public smaller. But like I said, the Orange Grove resources, open courseware, open textbook, and then our harvested resources are for everyone. So let's go back to our dashboard, which is your home page. And on here, you'll see we have the current items that have just been added, and I updated the PDF files just today, so that'll show on here. So any new item that's added gets shown here. We also have 2 videos here on the home page that if you're interested in OERs and open textbooks, that I'd encourage you to view. One of these is about our Orange Grove Text Plus. And with that, what we've done is we're working with the University Press of Florida. And when a faculty member is interested in creating a open textbook, they can contact the University Press to see about getting it printed, available both in print and digital format, so they can get the editing services of a publisher. And those books are sold for a very low price of $20 if they want a print version. The PDF, of course, is free for download and reading online. But some of our students have said that they wanted the option to print, and that's where the university press has collaborated with us. You can do a quick search right off the home page. And I'm going to give you an example here. So I'm just going to type in history of the internet. You can tell I practiced what one to pull up. And the reason I did this one, it just gives you an idea. If you get the number of resources that are here, you can filter by the types of resources and the dates. And you can also sort the resources. And this right here, the little icon there that's showing you that this is a video resource. And so let's just click on that. And this is the descriptive information that you'll get for any of the resources added to our repository. And this right here, you click the down arrow, that just tells you what type of resource it is. So, and this is your cookie trail. You can go back. You'll see here that it's searching within the Orange Grove resources. If you click this down arrow, you can select what type of collection you want to search in. You can also search by the different metadata fields and by the collections. So you can really narrow your searches down quite a bit. So we went through the collection here. You can also, these are our harvested resources, and remember that's sort of the component with the reformatory part of it. We're bringing in resources from other places, such as here's connections and biological sciences. There's a lot of videos that we're pulling in, and these are automatically pulled in every night, and they're updated. So we've got a wealth of resources. We have, right now you can see, over 69,000 resources here already. Some of these resources have been rated and commented. And I have an error. This is coming from their site, so we'll have to see if we can fix that for them. But anyway, so we're bringing in a lot of resources. We just contacted Saylor Foundation, and here's a Browse Open Textbook, and we've started bringing in, they have 4 open textbooks, and they also have a open textbook challenge. Those of you interested in writing an open textbook, you can get funding for the development of an open textbook if it could also be used in one of their Saylor Foundation courses, which are Gen Ed courses that would be relevant to any of our community colleges or 1,000, 2,000 level courses at a university. So we've added these different ones here. So if you click on any of these links, it takes you to only what's in that subcategory. We've got the TK-12 open textbooks. We need to keep bringing those in. They are always developing new open textbooks for K through 12. We also just started in the past couple weeks, we would like to bring in open courses, so people can come in here and also do searches for open courses. These happen to be the Saylor courses that are related to the textbooks that we've also put in.
Thank you, Robin.
Does anyone have a question?
Excellent.
Okay. No questions then? Well, on that note, Una, I think we're ready to pass this on to our next presenter.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Thank you very much, Robin. It's just grown in amazing ways over the last couple years, and it's just a wonderful resource for folks who are looking for OER. So I want to thank you for that. If you can just click off the application sharing now on your desktop.
Okay, I'll do that. Great.
Thank you. Perfect. All right. Now I would like to introduce David Harris, who is the editor-in-chief of Connections. And David joined Connections to lead the OpenStax College project. I think most of you know about Connections. It was one of the very earliest OER repositories. It's modular-based. It uses a Creative Commons license, and has been a real leader in this area for over a decade. And OpenStax College is the latest project to come out of Connections, and a very exciting one. They're looking at multiple textbooks, 5 in the first incarnation, open textbooks, which are complete textbooks with ancillary materials, test banks, homework assessment systems. Sorry. So a real complete solution, but all openly licensed. And without further ado, I'm going to let David tell you all about that.
Thank you so much, Una, and thank you for having us today. I think it's terrific that we can start sharing these open education resources with the community. And I'd also like to recognize our good friends at Orange Grove. Actually, we work closely with Meredith Babb there, who's been a tireless promoter of not only OpenR, but quality OpenR. So, as Una said, I'm the editor-in-chief for Connections, but I've really been working on our OpenStax College initiative. Both Connections and OpenStax College, we are the same group, except with slightly different purposes, which I will get into. If we go back a journey through time, if you will, we go back, 20 or 30 years, the world was a simpler place. Books were well-defined. Back then, I believe they were still affordable, and information was discrete and not as freely shared as it is today. But as we know, technology is enabling the sharing of information and resources. And this is aligning beautifully with the open education area. And these knowledge bases are forming networks. And these networks are really beginning to drive change. And we first see this in the market context, especially in the higher education space, where we're seeing a rapidly emerging economic model for faculty and students. Historically, we were really in a tech-centered world where distribution, authorship, ownership was really dominated by a single player, a publisher. But that is now beginning to change, and we're really moving into an era of what I would call high-quality, user-focused content, in which there might be adaptive online homework pieces, community-based content will be brought in, and then exam prep to get the students ready for high-stakes assessment. And this is really beginning to change the landscape. And so we looked at this landscape at Connections. And we looked at this model, this is from a business book, where I think of early OER as you get the early adopters willing to take more risks than later adopters. But we had to find a way to capture the mainstream of the market, or that conservative side of the market. And that's where OpenStax College comes in. Think of Connections as all-inclusive. And we do have lenses now where societies like the IEEE, they vet the content. But anyone can contribute content to Connections. There's over 20,000 learning objects. We have over 1 million visitors per month. OpenStax College, on the other hand, is limiting. It is, if Connections is inclusive, OpenStax College is exclusive. And we do that for several reasons, which I'll get into in a minute. What we're trying to do with OpenStax College is really address this issue. We know that these materials are getting out of reach of students. The price of an introductory physics book I was looking at the other day now exceeds $200. In fact, in California, the price of textbooks in some courses now exceed the cost of the course. which is putting undue hardship on students. And quite frankly, many of them are not even participating and buying these materials anymore. However, there are challenges in terms of OER 1.0. There is already a great deal of content. Why isn't it being used? We hear this question a lot. In fact, it was raised earlier today. OER content is inconsistent in quality. You don't always know what you're going to get. OER content for courses isn't really supported by technology, or it is only technology. There don't seem to be a lot of blended solutions. And you know what we say to that? We say, you know what? Those are valid points by the mainstream of the market. For example, we recognize that it can be difficult to find materials. If you do a site search on, this is from Merlot, but connections would be the same thing. If you type in physics or college physics, you get over 1,000 items to evaluate. And when you find something, it might have limited production value, which would be great if you're very familiar with the subject matter, but for students, that could be a limiting factor. And so we wanted to meet the OER challenge. The first thing we wanted to do was make it easy to use, make it easy for faculty to find materials through OpenStax College, CCOER, or Orange Grove Text Plus. We want our materials to be easy. Next, we recognize that free is not enough. We have to establish development models to ensure quality, including extensive peer review, professional content development, copy editing, media development, etc., really to provide a rich learning experience for students. The materials need to meet the scope and sequence requirements of existing curricula. With connections, we still think that people will adapt to adopt. But with OpenStax College, we recognize they will adopt and then they may adapt. So we need to make sure that our materials line up well to that course. And then finally, we know we need to provide essential learning resources to support the core basal material. If you're teaching a STEM course, like a mathematics course or a physics course, you now need online homework to support it. So we want to make sure that we provide you access to those resources. So thanks to the generous foundation support of the Hewlett Foundation, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, 20 Million Minds Foundation, and others, we're developing high-quality books for the top 20 courses. The first two, which are publishing now, Physics and Sociology, Biology, Concepts of Biology, and A&P will be out later this year. And we'll have 20, and all the books will be available at OpenStax College in Connections, and all will carry a CC BY license, meaning that you will be able to take those and do with them as you need for your courses. So let me just quickly show you one of the projects. I want to make sure I get this right here. Okay. Did I press on the wrong? Oh, here we go. Great. Okay. So if you come to OpenStax College, what you will find actually is this experience very similar to what you'd find on a publisher website. If you're a faculty member, what you'll do is you'll come in, you can pick your domain, or you can just pick the title. And when you click on the title, there's a brief overview. The table of contents can be collapsed and expanded, and you'll find that this resource will meet your scope and sequence requirements. All the topics are covered, very much like a traditional text. What we also have here is we have learning resources down in the bottom here. So this book is supported by, for instance, Sapling Learning, which is a premier online homework provider, and they've built online materials that support the book. That's a subscription model, but it's the idea of having for-profit partnerships to provide services around the free content. So let's have a look at the quality of the content. So students will be able to come in here, and they will be able to download the content for free. There is no password requirement. There is no registration requirement. The ebooks never expire. You can share them with your students. You can adapt them. They really are by the community for the community. And so let me just, this is just loading here for a second. So what we wanted to do here is really create a searchable ebook that's richly illustrated and has over, I believe they've got hundreds of problems per chapter. This is in this browser. It's taking a little while to load here. Hold on. Okay, so for some reason this is not loading. I'll give it one more second.
While it's loading there, David, you had a question from Richard.
Sure.
How do you distinguish between faculty and students for the resource guide?
Great question. So the faculty do need to register for selected items, and those items are restricted. So students can't get hold of test questions. They can't get hold of PowerPoint slides, etc. So that's a really good question. But I wish I could show you this. Okay, here we go. So this is an example of the problem sets from the book here. And then I just want to show you a sample page. Okay, so these are full-color texts. They will have comprehensive illustrations, tables. I mean, very much like you would get for a $250 book, except they're free. And we put a great deal of work into the illustrations. And this particular book is for pre-med students or science-based students. It's an algebra-based course, and it's got a lot of medical applications. And the students can download this to any device, mobile device if they want, or they can print it out for free. I'm sorry it's not showing too well there today. But you can go to OpenStax College and have a look at it for yourself.
All right, there we go. It's showing now.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Yeah, and I put the link in the chat window so people can download that today, right?
Yeah, they can download it, absolutely, and they start sharing it with their students. So just to quickly wrap up here, there's lots of options here for faculty. They can use these high-quality books as a main textbook, or they can adapt it, or they can use it as a supplemental book. Sometimes changing books is difficult. So if they've got students who can't afford it, they can just put a link in there and say, oh, this is equivalent after you've evaluated it, and here's a free resource. Or you can select just a few chapters. You can use the example problems, or you can use the questions. One size does not have to fit all. And then for the students, they can get, as I said, free EPUB. It never expires, free PDF. And then low-cost print. I think the physics book is going to be around $39, and that's a 1,200-page full-color physics book compared to $240. And as I said, it's integrated with online homework too. So for students, one size no longer has to fit all. And then I guess finally, together we can build a sustainable future. And the way we can keep this open, quite frankly, is we don't have an expensive sales force. And we do it by participating in webinars like this, but we need people to look at the materials. As they like it, refer us on Facebook, tweet about us, or just mention us to a colleague. This needs to be done virally. And so what I say to our publishing friends, our commercial restricted publishing friends, is first, as Gandhi would say, they ignore you, then they may laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. And open education resources are just about to win. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks very much, David. Just before I open it to general questions here, we did have a question from Magdalene here. She said the release date was indicated as spring.
Yep.
Do you see that comment? And
yep, absolutely. So the physics book is going to be, all those chapters will be posted by the end of the first week in June. Sociology will be all posted by the first week of June. Every chapter now, if people are interested, are available on an FTP site. We just put it through a rigorous quality review process before it gets posted. And if people are interested, they can email me at david.harris, Harris, at dnx.org, and I can refer you to the FTP site so you can preview those chapters now.
All right, thanks, David. Before we open it up again, our next webinar will be May 22nd, just to put that on your calendar if you can. And we'll be having some guest speakers from the Open Course Library talking about the development and use of their public speaking course, which they've now been using for about a year and a half. And it'll be Professor Phil Vendetti and instructional designer Ellen Bremen. So that'll be another good one, and we hope you can join us. Now I'm going to open this up for general questions. You can type those in the window, or if you're on the phone, you can speak up. One other question that I noticed in the chat window while we're waiting for other people to jump in, Adam asked if there is if the other titles are available for OpenStax, because you mentioned 20, David.
Yes. Okay, so the majors for biology and non-majors for biology will be out in November. Anatomy and physiology will be out in December. And then we're just working on the schedule on the releasing of the next series of titles. Actually, we're doing those project planning, final planning this week. And so we'll have an announcement on the next 5 probably in the next month. To get all 20 will take several years, because to develop the high-quality content, it takes a long time, unfortunately.
Right, because David, you started these books about 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it takes a long time. There's no shortcut on developing the content.
All right, so we're open for general questions. I know some people may have to take off, but we can stay here for another 5 or 10 minutes, and I want to thank everyone for coming. Contact information is on the whiteboard here, and please follow up with me or any of our other presenters this morning for additional information. And
sure.
Again for coming.
There's a couple questions here. Would you like me to answer them about OpenStax?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay, so one from Richard. Are you using any current OER text to create your OpenStax text? That's a very good question. We are evaluating base text for inclusion OpenStax College. And if you're an author and interested, we'd love to hear from you. What we do is we put all the projects through a rigorous vetting process, a peer review process, and evaluate it, and then come up with a project plan, and then the author can make a decision, is this the way they want that project to evolve? So that's a great question. Nicole's question, any insight into why you went with the EPUB format? Well, we have 3 formats, print, EPUB, and PDF. We went with EPUB because of the growing use of mobile devices and tablets. We wanted to make sure that our content would be compatible with those, and that's why we're making it available. At the same time, students who can't afford a $600 iPad probably don't need the EPUB. They probably need the simple PDF. And then Marianne question, what about textbooks in the area of core content classes, English, math, sociology? Well, sociology is being published this spring. Math is on our top list, so is English and history. I just don't have a timeline for those. Okay, in California Community College, there are core degrees. Yes, and we're working with TAA, CCCT grantees on the core curriculum, and hopefully we'll start developing some content around that too.
And Adam asked about American government.
Yes.
Robin, I think Florida has an American government book coming out soon.
Yep.
Yes, we have an American government coming out. We've also got 3 calculus books out. Calculus 1, 2, and 3. 2 and 3 are being beta tested right now. The key component with those 3 calculus books is that they also are supported with WebAssign ancillaries similar to MyMathLab and videos.
Cool.
And WebAssign partners at a discount, so I believe the cost is only $25 to students to use that interactive WebAssign.
Okay, thanks, Robin.
Yeah, that's true.
Could you put the link in for the American Government book if possible?
Yes, and I'm going to throw in the link for the Sailor Open Textbook Challenge for where people can get $20,000 to support their writing of an open textbook.
Absolutely.
Okay. It is for the Sailor Foundation, but it's an open textbook. But they will provide you the funds and editing support. So, it will be an open textbook and can be used by anyone. So, and the book that you're talking about, I'm going to have to search for it. Hang on.
Okay.
All right. So Jim Huder asked the question, who are the target audience for the text? That's a great question. We're going for the middle of the market. State colleges, community colleges, universities. The beauty of this material is you can adapt it, and if you want to amplify the content in any specific area, you can add that content as you choose. Dan asked a question about version control. Great question. So we don't plan on revising books like publishers do and forcing you to change. If you go in and make a change at OpenStax College to the OpenStax College version, it will display in Connections, not on OpenStax College. There will be what we call a canonical version. We will keep the books up to date, and of course we will correct any errors that arise. And we have a feature on the website called the OpenStax Dash, which kind of provides the latest updates to the book. But we don't anticipate appreciable updates any more than once a year. And certainly nothing on the magnitude of what you would see a publisher forcing revision.
All right. David, I don't know if you want to answer this one or someone else does. There was a question about EPUB and the advantages of EPUB over PDF. Do you want to take that quickly?
Oh, sure. Well, I mean, the EPUB gives you a lot greater flexibility. I mean, PDFs are relatively static. You can embed a lot more interactive objects with EPUB. The other beautiful thing about EPUB is that it can be meta tagged for use in intelligent online systems, so the content can be distributed in many different pieces. I think those are probably the major advantages. If anyone can add something else, that would be terrific. I love this last question. Are you receiving resistance from the major monopoly publishers? Okay, great question. We are beginning to, obviously, they're worried about, they've got to protect a business model that's no longer economically sustainable for students. So they need to find a way out of the wilderness, so to speak. And our view at OpenStax College is that there should be opportunities where we can collaborate and drive the cost down for students and keep quality very high. The truth of the matter is they're probably not quite yet there at this point, and I think they will get to that point when more and more in the community start to adopt these materials and use them. That will get them a lot more creative, and that's why I keep going back to, as a community, what we need to do is we need to do this virally. Twitter, Facebook, refer a colleague, because they have armies of reps that can overshadow us every day of the week.
Yeah, thank you, David. There was a question also about college bookstores, and I want to address that briefly and give others opportunities to talk about that. We at the CCCOER, we've always invited the college bookstore managers to be a part of this conversation, and we realize many of them, particularly the ones that are part of the college and aren't outsourced, they do have they contribute a revenue stream to the college, And so we want to, continue to help support that in ways that we can. And print on demand is one place where colleges could continue to provide services to students around open textbooks. Obviously, open textbooks will not take over the entire textbook realm in the near future, but print on demand is one area. To the extent that college bookstores are focusing on other components as well, in addition to just books now, they're really moving more into selling electronic devices, mobile devices to read these open textbooks. So we're really about supporting them, and we want them to be part of this conversation.
Absolutely. Good point.
David threw in about Flat World Knowledge, and absolutely there's some excellent open textbooks through Flat World Knowledge. And they're a great collaborator of ours as well. Okay, Adam.
Great question.
Adam asked about videos, and I think the videos that Robin showed earlier, the links to would be excellent. They're the ones done by the Florida Distance Learning. Adam, you can contact Robin or me offline to get those links.
We also have a video introduction of OpenStax College, too.
Okay, excellent. Robin or David, if you want to share those links in the chat window, you can do that.
Absolutely. Let me see if I can find it. Okay.
I have the OGT Plus one.
Yeah.
And you should have that now.
Yeah, thank you, Robin. I see that.
That would definitely help explain it all and the benefits.
Okay, yeah, that's a general one. And David is going to share the one for OpenStax, and if other folks need things, they can contact us after the fact.
Give me a second here. Okay, here we go. There we go. Okay.
All right. Well, once again, I want to thank everyone for attending. I think at the high here we had 87 attendees.
Great.
We have now doubled our former record for CCC OER webinars. So I have to thank my presenters. I think they were the reason you came, and I hope that you got the information that you needed. If you need additional information, please don't hesitate to contact any of us. And if there are no further questions, I think we will. You're still looking, right, David, for your...
I sent it in the chat window.
Okay, excellent. All right, there it went. Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we will then bring the webinar to a close unless there's any last questions.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Kate, Robin, David, and all of you for coming.
Bye-bye.
You're quite welcome. Thank you for having us. Bye-bye, everyone.